It's now time for On the Line with Cheryl Wilkerson. The conversation will range from local dialogue to international. This show is meant to enlighten, inform, and to inspire. On the Line with Cheryl Wilkerson begins now.
Hello and welcome to On the Line with Cheryl Wilkerson, Sunday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I welcome to On the Line Dr. Amelia Ross Hammond. Welcome to On the Line. How are you?
I'm doing fine. What about you?
I am doing fine. Now, you are a retired NSU professor. Behold the green and gold.
That's right.
You've been on Virginia Beach City Council. Are you on council now?
No? I'm running for District 4.
Okay. And
so I'll be on the ballot, come November of this year.
November. And you are the push behind the African American Cultural Center that is now, it's in the planning stages. And today, hopefully, people listening to the show can understand the vision and the mission, and they'll want to contribute in any way that they can and help it become a reality, correct?
Yes, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this today.
This is going to be fun. This is going to be great information. And like I said, it's local information. There's just so much Black history that has been swept under the rug, things that we know nothing about. And if you read something every day, you still will feel like there's so much that I don't know. But today, again, like I said, we talk about the Virginia African American Cultural Center. What got you started on this mission? How did this all begin, Dr. Amelia?
Well, what happened is, as you would know or may not know, originally I am from West Africa, from Liberia, West Africa, which has quite a connection to the United States. In fact, our first president of that country was Joseph Jenkins Roberts, who came out of Norfolk.
Roberts Park.
And, yes, out of Roberts Park. So when I moved this way, one of the first things I did was, and going over at Norfolk State University, was going over to that park and looking at, the history they had back then. Meanwhile, I am always a history buff, so while at the university as professor, I was also part of the African American Association of Higher Ed, and we traveled all around the South, visiting different areas, different HBCUs, and whenever I went, I found a way to go over to their cultural museum or some area, and it gave me a lot of history, because I was able to go to Alabama, go over to several of the other areas in Georgia and see their history. Well, I felt some things were not in place here. As I went on to be on city council, one of the things I asked was, what would you all like to see in this area? And some of the elders said to me, well, we have no repository. We have nowhere for our history and artifacts. And I said, well, this is going to be one of my missions and vision is one day to see an African American culture center in this area. And not just one that's a museum, but one that has interactive for young people to learn. And so I'll share a little bit our mission after in 2015, I brought this up, started talking about it. And then I proceeded to try to put together our bylaws and ask others to join me. So together we came up with the mission is to collect, preserve, interpret, inform, and celebrate Virginia African American history, culture, and community, and to educate the public about African Americans' contributions in all areas of endeavor. So that was our mission.
You make it sound so matter-of-factly that, you know what, this is what I wanted, so this is what I did. But we know this is a huge undertaking, correct?
It is, because starting off, one of the things to me is important is some ownership. So people said, well, maybe you can get a building. I said, no, I want land. If you have land, you can build up. But if you don't have something you own, well, you need to live in there. So my next mission was to go all across this Virginia Beach area looking for location that I felt was somewhere to put this. And I didn't want it on the beach because Virginia Beach isn't just a beach.
Okay.
I wanted it in the community. And luckily, with one of the other council members driving me all over the place, I found a place which is off of Newtown and Baker Road. And there was this frontage of land. And I said, I like this spot. It doesn't flood and it's very visible. And so long story short, we went back to council and I told him, hold on with me now, Council Member Lewis Jones. And he did. And I presented that to the council. At first it said, well, maybe we'll lease you the land. I circled back to say, no, we really want this land to own. Mm-hmm. So by then I had formed the board. Our president then was Bruce Williams, bless his soul.
Yes.
And so he went with me. We went and talked, and I talked. And in the end, we had, of course, to bring it to city council. And I told them the African Americans here have given a lot. It's time you all gift back to them. So they gift us the land. I have the deed, and it's 4.83 acres.
How many?
One day, put 4.83 acres.
Okay.
To put up our center. So there we have the land, and we went from there to putting our vision that is not only African American Culture Center, but Virginia African American Culture Center. So we went through the process to change the name by adding Virginia and letting them know our vision aims to be the statewide leader in generating historical and cultural content through programs, artistic performances, and curated exhibits. Because we want for our youth to be able to come in there, to be able to learn, and for this to be a bridge between communities and our historical African American neighborhoods. And so you can come in there and do different things, be an educational enhancement, inclusiveness, social, economic, financial, and family values. Mm-hmm. And we're partnered with other regional and state universities and tell our own culture in our own words.
That is so important. And I think people are realizing that more and more, that we have to tell the story of us. I know that's bad grammar, but we have to tell our own stories.
Yes, and from an unfiltered experience. See, our own lived story, when you hear it outside and when you hear the reality of what people go through, there's kind of two different stories. And I tell them, but they're all important. Your story is important. My story is important, but it's also America's story. We mm-hmm. need to be able to feel comfortable and safe in that space.
That is exactly right. And so do you want to tell people the location that you finally settled on?
Yes, we're off 744 Hampshire Lane, which is on Newtown Road and not far from Baker Road. It's actually ended up being a good spot because if you come from the Eastern Shores coming in onto Northampton, you just bear left onto Diamond Springs, and that takes you straight across to that land. It's right on the Newtown and Diamond Springs. If you're coming from the highway, the same thing. You come down I-64 mm-hmm. and go straight down Newtown. You will see it on the left after you cross Baker Road. And we have some beautiful portraits up there, large public art portraits of from the at least, actually there are 14 historically Black neighborhoods in Virginia Beach. And 6 of them are not far from where this land is. So that pleased my heart because it will be in the community.
It will be in the community. You're right. I am speaking with Dr. Amelia Ross Hammond. She is one of the brain trusts behind the Virginia African American Cultural Center. It is being finalized on paper, and it is going to be built soon. It is located 744 Hampshire Lane. Dr. Amelia actually used to live on Hampshire Lane back in college, myself and some roommates. Yes, we rented a townhouse there, so that's pretty full circle for me right now. But tell us, what do you need from the community?
Well, what I need, we get our contributions to 3 ways. We write grants. We ask you all to become members, and the membership begins at $25, and you have different levels. Some people have become a benefactor, which is $500, but we wanted it to be affordable for anyone. So at $25 annually, and that money helps us with our operating, funds and with our operating budget. So they can become a member. They can donate by going to VAACCVB, meaning Virginia Beach.org. So V for Virginia, 2 A's, 2 C's, and we're located in Virginia Beach. But now many more things are happening for us because we have done several events. Mm-hmm. We have the land. We are tax exempt. And also we've gotten now one of our most major grants ever. Through talking, going up to the General Assembly and working with Nancy Guy, at that point was one of the delegates, and she helped me, and with the city of Virginia Beach, and writing letters saying how important this would be a tourist asset for the entire Commonwealth. So they could not help me with capital funding, and that's for putting up the brick and mortar building. But they said, we will help you based on what you are telling us to help do even more historical and cultural content and events and programming that can spread throughout the Commonwealth. So I thanked them. I said, I had to speak in front of the Appropriations Committee, and Luke Torian was then the Appropriations Chair. I went from door to door, knocking, talking with them, leaving messages. And so you had to work across the aisles for not only the delegates, but the senators on both parties to agree. And up to the 11th hour, I was able to convince them how important, and they did grant us some funds. So we've gotten the funds. We're going to get it in thirds. So you can imagine a third of what they give me was $1 million. We've been given $1 million to help move these programs across the Commonwealth. So I've already met with Mayor Kenneth Alexander.
Oh, sure,
Mayor
Norfolk.
Mr. Donnie, Mayor Donnie Tuck, Mayor Rich West, our mayor, and I'm keeping going across. I've talked with Congressman Bobby Scott to let him know. And then we're hopeful that soon other ways will open where we can get the funding through, like Dominion Energy is looking at us, Centerra, and others that we can partner. And I feel in my heart that by 2023, by the ending of that year, we should be able to at least do a groundbreaking. And then we can work on putting up the building. Meanwhile, we're doing lots of things around.
I'm stunned at the fact that you got lawmakers on both sides of the aisles to work together. Did I hear that correctly?
You heard that correctly.
Yeah, I need to send you to Washington so you can work some magic and all of them can come to their senses, because anytime we have children slaughtered, as we've seen, and they still, recently, just recently this week, they said that, they've come together on some legislation, and, how meaningful it will be is, up for debate. But yeah, if you got them to work together, Dr. Amelia Ross Hammond, you are on to something right there. That is good. If you're just joining the program, we are talking about the Virginia African American Cultural Center. You're probably thinking, well, where is that? Well, it is going to be at 744 Hampshire Lane. That is in Virginia Beach. And as you heard Dr. Amelia just say, they want to break ground soon. So your support is needed. So do you have citizens that are coming to you with artifacts or articles or gems that they say this would go great in this cultural center when it's built?
Well, already we do have some we're talking to. And one was a lady, she's not African American, and she passed away last year, just around near Christmas or so. But she had a slave basket from 1865. And she says, I've been listening to what you're trying to do, and I want this basket to one day be in the culture center. So we have the basket. And what I did was take it over to one of our historic houses where they have climate control.
Oh, great.
Area, and they're keeping it safe for me. And other people begin talking. So that way we can, have those ready to put in. Because what I envision is going to be a more transparent looking. If they visit our website, they can see the conceptual rendering of the building on that website. And if they go and click on where it says the center, they can do a digital walkthrough of going through that building, because the mind is an important thing. So people can visualize coming in there. We'll have rooms for meetings rooms and classrooms, like educational rooms that kids can come, bring their computers, learn. We're going to even have a green roof area where they can learn about nutrition, how to grow sunflower seeds or something that can help themselves.
I was going to ask you, what about outside? Do you have gardens planned or anything like that, walking trails or whatever? I can't specifically say, but you get the general idea. My question is, do you have plans for the outside? And the other thing is, how important is it for you that you use Black vendors as much as you can to get this cultural center to come into existence?
I think it's very important. And this is why this is not like some people under the state, but the state and the city are private-public partners, because once that goes away, then someone can say jump and you say hi. I wanted it where it's a private nonprofit with partners, and we're going to have a history trail that goes around the building. There's going to be two buildings. Okay. One with a bridge that goes to the performing arts area. So we're going to do a first phase and then a second phase. And what we do now is we have something called the Community Fall Festival. And some of our board members they chair that committee. And the first time we had 500 come. Since the pandemic last year, we had 350 come on, and it's free and open to the public. And we have like a historic tent up there that people can go in and look at some artifacts. And we made a temporary during that Community Fall Festival where they can walk and look at the history through that way. Because, we have the Trail of Tears. We have lots of history. And we have SeaTac, which is one of the oldest ongoing communities in the country.
In the country, you can get the history of like the fire station and all of that. And it's like, it's right here in our backyard. And we didn't know these stories. We just didn't know them, Dr. Amelia.
Just didn't know them. And what I did during the pandemic was I talked with the city convention center. I said, people come and visit us all the time, but they don't know much about the Virginia African Americans here. So I compiled and called one of our historians to work with me. I compiled a brochure, and the brochure lists at least 13 places that you can get in your car, put your GPS on, and visit within 2 to 3 hours at the most all across Virginia Beach. I started with the first landing, which is off at 4th Story.
Yes.
Because where the first landing happened. Not all the way down. They came there. Then they didn't like the sandy land and moved on to Williamsburg and so forth. Then they came back and they had 260,000 African Americans build the trails, the cabins, and all of those in that first landing where they have the military. But they were not allowed to go in and enjoy it. Yep.
It is amazing history. And I like it because it gives me strength, because sometimes I can be sitting here thinking like, you know what, Cheryl, you're just not doing it, or the forces are all against you or whatever. But Dr. Amelia, when I sit here and I think of the stories, the Black history that I do know, then I sit there and my back gets a little bit straighter and I get a little bit more pumped up. And I say to myself, well, you know what? They did it and that blood is running through me, so I can do it too.
Right. And you see, we put that for that brochure. We put it together. I worked on it. It took that whole year. We finally, 2021, had it printed. The city, the convention center was so impressed with that, they made 26,000 copies.
Oh, wonderful.
All over the place. I've been interviewed by Tidewater, AAA, including AARP, including Philadelphia Inquirer, including some international people, because suddenly they realize now people can come. And we're working on a small oral history committee, because if people come and visit, and let's say they have a small group, we can have where they can stop at certain places. They won't be able to go in all of them. But one example is out near Pongo. We have a one-room classroom schoolhouse that is still has all of its stuff in it.
What do you mean it has all of its stuff in it? Explain.
All the benches.
Oh, my goodness.
Like the pot stove, the pot belly stove,
Mm-hmm.
the desk where the school bell is still sitting on it, some of the writings on it. And they shut it down in 1951 because that was when they had the one schoolhouse for colored children only. And it's still, after they shut it down, it is still there. And after I put the brochure out, some of the Chesapeake people who have an old one room, but nothing's in it and it needs to renovate, said, we wonder how it looked. So I got a call from the council person, you will know Ella Ward, and some of the others, and said, can we come and see your one-room school? So they got a bus, and they came, and I had some of the people who are keepers of that house. They came out, and we took them all through. We have pictures where they're walking around looking at the old desk and so forth, so they could go back and have an idea of how they're renovating. And they've been given some land near the Dismal Swamp to fix that. And that warmed my heart, because you see, this is where the seed being planted is now being replicated.
So, okay, I don't even know how to form my question. So getting back to that one-room schoolhouse, so that was before Union Kempsville, I guess. So they've kept that schoolhouse the way it is. There's certain people in the community that for what, over 60-some years, they've maintained that schoolhouse the way it was?
Yeah. So they maintained the schoolhouse the way it was. And you can see how it was put on. Remember, long ago, you didn't put the foundation straight on the ground. You had I will send you, once you give me your email so you can see. But telling you a little bit about it, it was called the Pleasantric School.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's adjacent to the Asbury Christian Fellowship. It's a one-room schoolhouse, then occupied and open for Black children around 1886.
That is amazing, Dr. Amelia. That is just amazing. I love that story. And so different stories such as that are going to come out, and they're going to come out in the form of the Virginia African American Cultural Center. It is going to be on Hampshire Lane in Virginia Beach. Community, listen, you can get involved with this now. You can donate. You can go through your history and maybe your oral histories, or maybe go up in your attic and find things, and you would be surprised at the history that might be there. This is exciting news. And like you said, it's going to benefit the entire state. Yeah.
And that's what we're getting at as we go and listen to what Hampton has, what Newport News. I went up there to the Newsom house. But you see, we have to connect.
Yeah.
So some coming to Virginia, and this southern part of Virginia, Hampton Roads and so forth, can have a roadmap. Mm-hmm. Going from here to there to Hampton. You know, I told those mayors this would be a cultural regional getting together.
Another reason to bring tourism. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you come to Hampton, you can come on down, come to Newport News, come over to Fulton Road, come to Virginia Beach, and make a whole history thing about your families and so forth. All of us matter in putting this together.
I'm sorry, I was going to say in Richmond, they had to fight to put up the statue of Magdalena Walker. They had to fight to get that statue up. And when you think about that woman and all that she did back in that day, you're wondering, like, why in this day and time did you have to fight? But they did. And then, even after the plans were approved, it was a fight over where it should be and how tall it should be and things like that. So you have a big task ahead of you. And I can hear in your voice that you are up for this job. I love this.
Well, one person said to me and several, you started looking at this in 2015 and got your 501c in 2016. Why isn't the building up yet?
Oh, my goodness.
I had to tell them, there are steps that you go through.
Yes.
I said, John Lewis is my hero because he took 10 years before someone listened to him to even begin that building. Mm-hmm. I said, in 5, almost 6 years, I've gotten land. I've gotten it tax exempt. We've gone and now this year received Amelia. So we are taking steps.
You are taking steps.
Rome wasn't built in one day.
And what you're saying adds up, because my guest last week, Dr. Tanya Matthews, she said, that dream in Charleston has been on the books for 20 years.
There you go. So I feel confident that within this amount of time, we have become even more visible. And as you see, thanks to NSU Radio and all of these that we're pulling together, this weekend, we're doing the first Juneteenth on the Oceanfront.
That is actually happening today, started earlier today. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from young guys. I have some younger people that call themselves Team Lamb, plus the VAACC. We're going to be on the Oceanfront. We're doing a golf tournament on the 16th. And, it's going to be busy, but the point is different tourists coming in will now see, not always thinking that our youth and our culture, when they go on the Oceanfront, is going to disrupt. That's why what I have, the murals that are going to go up, the whole theme is unity in the community. And we give the young people 10 words: unity, togetherness, inspiration, history, connectedness, kindness, understanding, love, acceptance, and community. And to see what they could come up with.
Dr. Amelia Ross Hammond, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We are running out of time. We are got to get out of here right now. But again, I want to thank you for bringing this vision to the state. I'm going to say the state, and then soon it's going to be the nation, and then soon it's going to be the world. Keep working hard. We are behind you. Thank you so much. I need you all to go online and look up the Virginia African American Cultural Center and see what we've been talking about this last 30 minutes. Dr. Amelia, thank you so very much.
And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Look, thank you all for listening this Sunday afternoon. We'll have to do it again next Sunday at 12 noon. I'm Cheryl Wilkerson. Behold the green and gold, and you all have a wonderful week. Stay healthy.